Interchanges are the lifelines of every city. They connect highways together and allow for a smoother transfer from one to the other. In the game, we have some interchange options, but using the same interchanges again and again can be really boring. So I prepared a little guide that will show you how you can change just a few things and change the interchange designs altogether. Here we have got 5 most commonly used interchanges that we have in the game. From left to right, we have the Trumpet Interchange, Trumpet Roundabout, Directional T Interchange, Partial Cloverleaf, and Dumbbell Interchange. All 5 of these are the most used interchanges, and it gets boring when you have to place same version of these again and again. So let's look through all the possible variations I can think of for each of them. The save file of this episode will be available to the Patreon members, so you can have a closer look to the interchanges and how I have made them. Link to join the Patreon, like how these people did, will be available down in description. With every interchange, there are few things that should always stay the same while recreating it. In this video, I will call them principles, and I will also mention what are those principles for each of the interchanges. For Trumpet Interchange, it's the circular connection that connects with the main highway, and then how the secondary highway connects with the perpendicular main highway. For our first iteration, to make it different, we change the approach angle of the secondary highway, and we have something that looks a bit different compared to our usual trumpet. Both the highways don't have to be placed perpendicular to each other. You can curve them accordingly and change the design to fit the needs. Here in the second iteration, we try to make it a bit more compact. So the secondary highway is not coming perpendicular to the main highway. Instead, it's parallel to the main one and it connects exactly the same way like the original design. It's best for places where you have less space to work with. It's compact and it follows the principles. In the third iteration, we take things a little further, reworking the loop and making it look interesting. It still follows the same principle, but you can have some fun with the designs. The loop isn't perfect anymore, but the way a secondary highway curves around and connects with the main highway, it looks really good. Provides a twist to the loop along with the secondary highway to make the design look more interesting. And if you want the interchange to be even more bigger and open, then we come to the fourth iteration of Trumpet Interchange. Here the loop is even more bigger, but the best part about this is that the curve of the secondary highway complements the curve of the main highway really well. It might be a little difficult to see the trumpet shape over here, but if you keep the two principles of trumpet in mind, then you can spot both of them here. I may have missed more designs, but these 4 are the ones I was able to build from top of my head. So yeah, these are not taken from the real world. You can make your own. Just gotta remember principles of each interchange and gotta work through based on that. Now we move to the Trumpet Roundabout. You have one roundabout that connects one side of the main highway and the secondary highway with it, and a couple connections from the secondary highway. Noting that, we can move to our first iteration. Pretty basic and simple, we just change the angle of the secondary highway just like the Trumpet Interchange. The roundabout is still in the middle, or say the entrance to the roundabout is still perpendicular to the main highway, and rest of the secondary highway is curved to add that change, and it's a little bit more open than the original one. In the second iteration, we change things a little bit. It doesn't matter what angle you place the main highway or secondary one, the entrance to the roundabout is at an angle. A little deviation from the usual one, but looks cool and you can stretch and morph it to make it even crazier. But because you will have the same trumpet roundabout principles in it, I think it should still be called the same. Then we come to the third iteration of Trumpet Roundabout. Just like the previous Trumpet Interchange, we have the curved main highway, and this time we make the roundabout nicely sit in between the curves and change the rest of the connections accordingly. This design is perfect if you want the interchange to follow a landscape or a river. You can also change the secondary highway. You would have seen we have been using highway couplet till now, but in this one we switched it to the 4-lane highway. For our fourth iteration, the approach to the roundabout has been made a little differently. more open and wider, and one of the connections that had to connect to the roundabout instead connects to the secondary highway, and rest of the connections are almost the same as the one we saw before. You can see that by just having different curves of the main highway, you can change the whole interchange really easily. If you build these interchanges in rural settings, then you can pretty much change the couplet highways into normal highways, which will kind of blend the highway interchanges a little bit. I mean, the couplet interchanges kind of stand out compared to the normal ones, you know. The directional T interchange, the classic interchange that we have been using since ages, it involves two connections coming to and from the half of the main highway, go above the main highway and connect back to the secondary one. Then two ground connections coming to and from the secondary highway to the other part of the main highway. In the first iteration, after playing with the design for a bit, I thought how about we have one of the overhead ramps to go so wide for the connection that the other one had to hug the main highway for a bit and then curve sharply to the connection. The main pet peeve with the directional T interchange is that usually you can't do a lot differently. Yes, you can have either of overhead connections to be underground or at negative 7.5 meters with retaining walls on the side, but there are not many ways that you can recreate directional T interchanges. Then we come to second iteration where one of the off ramps is underground at negative 7.5 meters as I said before, and the other just simply at 7.5 meters of height, connecting smoothly to both the highways. Here you can see both the off-ramps are pretty close to the main highway, unlike the previous one, and just looks pretty clean. But if you want even more cleaner, then this is where we come to our third iteration, where we increase the gap between the connections in the secondary road in such a way that we have to increase the height of the overhead ramp to only 7.5 meters, allowing us to pass the connection below it, then increase its height to 7.5 meters for it to connect to the main highway. This technique makes sure we don't go over too high and the ramps stay low and put. Also, here you can see how all the connections just go parallel to each other. It looks pretty cool. Then we have a really curved and borderline not a directional T interchange. The middle T part is a little bent, I'd say, but yeah, the connections are exactly the same as we did in the previous versions. Just goes to show you how much bending you can do of the highways and the rules for a particular interchange. Partial cloverleaf, the half version of the full cloverleaf interchange. There are many versions of this interchange, all have some things common, two loops coming to and from the secondary highway and then some other off ramps coming to and from the main highway. The first iteration of this involves the loops to be on opposite sides and we have the off ramps accordingly to it. We also changed the loops shape. In the original we had U-shaped loops, but here we have more circular ones. It looks a little different. Similarly, for the second iteration, instead of U-shaped loops, we added more circular ones. A little change, but quite simple and easy to do. In the third iteration, we kind of make the off-ramps a little free and not have them go parallel to the loops anymore, because of which we can have some things that look like this. And if we want, then we can absolutely go wild with the shape and angle of the highway and mess around to make our own variation. Here the loops are not of same size or shape, they have adapted to the area they were available with them. Now we come to the Dumbbell Interchange. We have two roundabouts on either side of the main highway and they are connected by a secondary highway. And then another set of connections from and to these roundabouts connecting main highway to them. So for our first iteration, rather than doing a single two connections from roundabouts that connects main highway, we connect them by the one-way highways. Now here's the catch. I'm not sure that after this change that I just did, whether the interchange will still be called Dumbbell Interchange or not. You be the judge of it. Let me know down in comments. I think regardless, you can easily make different variations even with the two-way highways. For the next iteration, we basically just change the locations of the roundabout such that the connections between them isn't straight anymore and the main highway goes almost straight, just adds a little bit variation between the roundabouts. In the next iteration, we have one of the roundabouts inside the curve of the main highway and rest of the off ramps adapt themselves accordingly. Some are more free and open and others are a bit tight turns. Till now you would have noticed that we have been keeping the size of the roundabout same. So for our fourth iteration, I have introduced some size variation to the roundabouts. The bigger one sits all nicely between the main highway curve and just like the Trumpet Roundabout, two off-ramps connecting directly to the secondary highway connection rather than connecting separately to the roundabout. So you can see how by changing few things about how an interchange is laid out, you can change its look completely. But at the same time, you'll have to remember the rules and principles of the said interchange. Otherwise, what you will end up making will or might be a completely new interchange. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned how you can reimagine the most commonly used interchanges available in the base game of City Skylines 2. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new or haven't already, join our Patreon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, happy building.